Welcome back to the Crime Decoder, where we delve into the stories that haunt us, unraveling the truth behind the headlines. Today, we explore the devastating story of Sydney Loofe, a 24-year-old whose vibrant spirit was extinguished in a chilling crime that gripped Nebraska and beyond. On November 15, 2017, Sydney shared a Snapchat selfie, dressed in a stylish white blazer and cream blouse. With a caption that hinted at a pivotal moment, "What if you knew this date would change your life forever? Ready for a date?" That photo, radiating hope and confidence, would tragically become the last image of her life. This is a story of a bright soul, a sinister deception, and a community's desperate search for justice. Sydney Loofe was born on August 21, 1993. In a tight-knit Nebraska town of just over 1,500 residents, a place where everyone knew each other's names. The middle child of George and Susie Loofe, Sydney grew up with her older brother Levi and younger sister Mackenzie, in a home filled with love, laughter, and community spirit. George, a dedicated principal at Nebraska High School, was a local hero, coaching the football team, teaching drivers education, and mentoring students with a steady hand. Susie, a compassionate special education teacher, poured her heart into her work and her family, fostering a nurturing environment for her children. Sydney was a force of nature, bursting with energy and a zest for life. As a child, she was rarely indoors, thriving in the fresh air. Summers found her racing bikes and ATVs with Levi, weaving through the fields and dirt roads of their small town. In winter, she bundled up to sled down snowy hills with Mackenzie or climb trees with friends, her laughter echoing through the neighborhood. At Nebraska High School, Sydney's athletic talent shone brightly. She was a star on the basketball court, a swift runner on the track team, and a skilled golfer, her competitive spirit matched only by her infectious enthusiasm. Beyond sports, Sydney's passions were eclectic. She loved assembling puzzles while watching her favorite TV shows, unable to sit still without a task. Her creative side flourished in the school's theater group, where she captivated audiences with her performances. Animals held a special place in her heart. She doted on her fluffy kitten, Nimsy, and never missed a chance to bring home a stray. Sydney's body told her story through tattoos, each one meaningful. On her arm, lyrics from a favorite song read, "Everything will be wonderful someday," a mantra that guided her through life's challenges and reflected her unwavering optimism. At 15, Sydney's world was upended by a diagnosis of scoliosis, a condition causing her spine to curve painfully. The pain was so severe that even swinging a golf club, a sport she loved, became unbearable, forcing her to abandon athletics. For a teenager whose identity was tied to movement and competition, this was a crushing blow. Yet Sydney's resilience shone through. She refused to let scoliosis define her, redirecting her energy into new passions. Theater became her outlet, where she embraced the stage with the same vigor she once brought to sports. Her love for animals deepened, and she poured her heart into caring for Nimsy and other creatures. Sydney's ability to stay positive, even in the face of adversity, inspired those around her. After graduating high school, Sydney chose independence over college, eager to carve her own path. She moved to Lincoln, Nebraska, a 3-hour drive from her hometown, and took a job at a home goods store. There, she quickly earned a reputation as the kindest, most attentive employee, always ready to help. In early 2017, when a coworker faced housing struggles, Sydney opened her apartment door without hesitation, offering a place to stay. Her one-bedroom apartment in Lincoln was more than a home. It was a sanctuary where she could define herself, both physically and emotionally. Despite her independence, Sydney remained deeply connected to her family. Every evening around 10:30 p.m., she texted Susie, "Good night, Mom," a ritual that reassured her parents of her safety. Most weekends, she made the drive home to spend time with George, Susie, Levi, and Mackenzie, sharing stories and laughter. But beneath her bright exterior, Sydney faced personal struggles. By November 2017, she confided in Susie about her battles with depression and anxiety. Frustrated that her prescribed medications weren't helping, Susie, ever supportive, promptly scheduled a doctor's appointment for November 13th to adjust Sydney's treatment. Seeking a deeper connection, Sydney turned to online dating. At 24, she longed for someone who understood her vibrant yet vulnerable spirit. She signed up for Tinder, hoping to find a genuine bond. On November 11th, while scrolling through profiles, Sydney matched with a woman named Audrey. Their conversation was effortless, filled with shared interests, from music to hobbies and a playful exchange of opinions. They quickly bonded and arranged to meet in person on November 14th. On November 14th, Audrey picked Sydney up at her Lincoln apartment. The two drove around the city chatting and laughing in a relaxed get-to-know-you setting. The date felt promising. Sydney returned home in high spirits, texting Audrey, "Good night, beautiful." She shared her excitement with her childhood friend, Brooklyn McChrist, sending photos of Audrey and describing her as sweet and fun. Sydney also confided in her co-worker Tara, gushing about the connection but voicing a concern. She worried Audrey might be in a relationship with a man and seeking a third partner for a casual encounter. Sydney had encountered such situations before and was clear she wanted a genuine connection, not a fleeting fling. She planned to clarify Audrey's intentions on their next date. On November 15th, Sydney prepared for her second date with Audrey. She chose a stylish outfit, a white blazer and cream blouse, and snapped a selfie for Snapchat. Her caption reading, "What if you knew this date would change your life forever? Ready for a date?" The photo captured her confidence and anticipation. Susie saw the post and texted to ask about the date, surprised since Sydney hadn't mentioned it during their talk on November 14th. Sydney's lack of response was unusual, sparking unease in Susie's heart. As the night wore on, Susie called repeatedly, but Sydney's phone went unanswered, a silence that felt increasingly ominous. On November 16th, Sydney didn't show up for her shift at the home goods store. Stark departure from her usual reliability. Her colleagues, alarmed, contacted Mackenzie, who alerted George and Susie. The absence of Sydney's nightly goodnight text compounded Susie's worry, especially given her daughter's mental health struggles. Was Sydney isolating herself, or was something far worse at play? By November 17th, the Loofes could wait no longer. They made the 3-hour drive to Lincoln, their minds racing with worst-case scenarios. At Sydney's apartment, they found her car parked in the driveway, but no one answered the door. With police assistance, they entered and were met with a chilling scene. Nimsy's food and water bowls were empty, something Sydney would never allow, given her devotion to her pet. Her purse sat on the kitchen table, but her phone, wallet, and keys were missing. The apartment was eerily quiet, as if Sydney had stepped out for a moment and vanished. The Loofes' fear turned to dread. Something was terribly wrong. Sydney's disappearance sent shockwaves through her small town. On November 19th, a candlelight vigil was held on the Knee High School football field, where hundreds gathered under the starry sky, clutching candles and praying for her safe return. Green ribbons, symbolizing hope, adorned backpacks, fences, and lampposts across town. Flyers were distributed far and wide, detailing Sydney's appearance: 5'8", 135 pounds, blonde hair, blue eyes, and distinctive tattoos, including the hopeful words on her arm. Her final Snapchat selfie became a rallying cry, shared across social media to amplify the search. Sydney wasn't just a missing person. She was a beloved daughter, sister, and friend, the heart of her community. Brooklyn McChrist, unwilling to sit idly by, took matters into her own hands. Using the photo of Audrey Sydney had sent her, Brooklyn created a Tinder profile and set the search parameters to women aged 25 in Lincoln. Her heart pounded as she scrolled through profiles, finally stopping at a familiar face. It was her, the woman Sydney had met. The profile belonged to Bailey Boswell, a 23-year-old living in Wilbur, Nebraska, with her 51-year-old partner, Aubrey Trail. Brooklyn initiated a conversation, obtained Bailey's phone number, and passed it to the Loofes, who immediately informed the Lincoln police. Phone records revealed a critical clue. Sydney's phone had last pinged in Wilbur on November 15th before going silent, directly linking Bailey to her disappearance. On November 18th, police visited Bailey and Aubrey's basement apartment in Wilbur, but found no one home. The landlord, Alan Cole, described the couple as antique dealers from Fall City, noting Aubrey's loud, talkative nature and Bailey's quiet demeanor. He recalled Aubrey gifting porcelain dolls to his grandchildren, a gesture that seemed polite at the time. But Alan's daughter, Jennifer, shared a disturbing detail. On the evening of November 15th, she and her son noticed an overpowering bleach smell emanating from the couple's apartment, so strong it irritated her eyes and lungs due to her chlorine allergy. The next evening, November 16th, the odor was even more intense, forcing her to open windows and doors despite the mid-November chill. The amount of bleach suggested something far beyond a routine cleaning. On November 19th, armed with a search warrant, police returned to the apartment. The bleach smell lingered, and one room stood out spotlessly clean, in contrast to the cluttered, dirty surroundings, as if someone had scrubbed it meticulously. Among the findings were a note detailing how to encrypt a cell phone, a receipt from November 15th at 5 p.m. for baking sheets and duct tape, and another from November 16th at 11:30 a.m. for a gallon of bleach and trash bags. A book titled The Atlas of the Human Body seemed oddly out of place for supposed antique dealers. A gray bedsheet was collected for potential DNA evidence. The items, combined with the bleach odor, painted a troubling picture of a possible crime scene. With the timing aligning perfectly with Sydney's last known date, on November 29th, the Lincoln Police Department publicly named Bailey Boswell and Aubrey Trail as persons of interest in Sydney's disappearance. The couple responded with a frantic 9-minute video posted on social media, filmed in a car with Bailey dressed in black and wearing dark sunglasses. Bailey claimed she and Sydney had gone on 2 dates, smoked marijuana, and parted ways after she dropped Sydney at a friend's house on November 15th, with plans to visit a casino that weekend. Aubrey, sitting beside her, echoed her story, expressing concern for Sydney and praying for her safe return. Their performance seemed rehearsed, and their claims did little to quell suspicions. Tips flooded the police hotline. A hotel manager in Spencer, Nebraska, nearly 4 hours from Lincoln, reported that Bailey and Aubrey had checked in, paying in cash, and left the next day. On November 28th, a front desk clerk at a hotel in Iowa recognized the couple from news reports and alerted authorities. When police arrived, Bailey and Aubrey had fled, leaving behind a cane, bags, and maps of Iowa and Mexico, suggesting an attempt to escape the country. FBI agents traced a burner phone used for the social media video, analyzing over 1,000 IP addresses and phone records. Sydney's texts before the date revealed her caution, insisting no men be present. Bailey had assured her they'd be alone, texting at 6:54 p.m. on November 15th that she was waiting outside Sydney's apartment. On December 13th, U.S. Marshals arrested Bailey and Aubrey at a motel in Branson, Missouri, on fraud-related charges, as evidence tying them to Sydney's case was still being gathered. The couple's criminal history emerged: check fraud, theft, and scams, targeting antique stores across multiple states, though no violent crimes until now. December 4th, police followed phone signals to a rural gravel road near Wilbur. In a ditch, they discovered trash bags containing human remains. Among them was a right arm bearing a tattoo. "Everything will be wonderful." It was Sydney's, a heartbreaking confirmation of her fate. Other items included a map fragment, pieces of Sydney's clothing, latex gloves, a blood-stained shower curtain, and a bedsheet. Further searches along Highway 41 uncovered more evidence: Sydney's driver's license cut into pieces, fragments of her cell phone, a pair of men's underwear, a green 4XL t-shirt with bleach stains, a size 8.5 shoe, a green glove, 2 men's socks, all discarded as if thrown from a moving car. An autopsy revealed signs of restraint scratches on her back and elbows, a torn earlobe indicating resistance. Though parts of her neck, including the hyoid bone, were missing, strangulation was determined as the cause of death. The discovery shattered the Loofes and their community. Sydney's family, exhausted by weeks of hope and fear, faced the unbearable truth: she would never come home. The green ribbons that once symbolized hope now fluttered as symbols of grief. Aubrey Trail, born September 7th, 1966, had a turbulent life marked by abuse and crime. Sent to live with his grandparents at age 2, he later returned to his mother and stepfather, only to face constant abuse. He ran away, bouncing between foster homes, and began a criminal career in his teens with theft, vandalism, and substance abuse. At 17, he was imprisoned for armed robbery, followed by multiple stints for fraud and bad checks. His scams involved buying antiques with fake checks or selling counterfeit items as genuine, amassing significant wealth. Bailey Boswell, born February 26, 1994, faced early tragedy when her father was murdered when she was 2. She excelled in track and basketball, earning a college scholarship, but her life unraveled after a sexual assault and harassment from an abusive coach. Struggling with addiction and an abusive relationship, Bailey became pregnant, and her child was placed with her parents. By 22, she faced multiple arrests for drug-related offenses. Her husband exploited her, selling her body for profit. Escaping him, Bailey met Aubrey, who drew her into his criminal schemes and perverse fantasies. In mid-2017, the couple settled in a Wilbur basement apartment, running scams together. Aubrey saw himself as a vampire leading a witch's coven, using Bailey's Tinder profile under names like Audrey to lure vulnerable women, impose strict rules, calling him Daddy Vampire, forbidding contact with men, and demanding sexual compliance. At one point, he controlled 3 women besides Bailey, offering them money and gifts while enforcing nudity in the apartment. His ultimate fantasy was murder, believing it would make someone a true witch. 3 women who escaped testified that Aubrey planned to kill and record it for profit, threatening their families if they spoke out. Sydney, strong-willed and unwilling to join Aubrey's group, threatened to expose him after learning his true intentions. Fearing the loss of his twisted lifestyle, Aubrey strangled her with an extension cord, with Bailey's complicity in luring her into the trap. On June 11, 2018, Aubrey Trail and Bailey Boswell were charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit assault, and improper disposal of human remains. Aubrey's 2019 trial was a spectacle. He claimed Sydney's death was an accidental result of a $5,000 party, involving erotic strangulation with an extension cord, but surveillance footage showed the couple buying a hacksaw, tin snips, a utility knife, and trash bags hours before the date, clear evidence of premeditation. 3 former coven members testified about his murder plans, describing his claims of supernatural powers like flying and mind-reading. In a dramatic moment, Aubrey leaped up during a witness's testimony, shouted that Bailey was innocent, and slashed his throat with a makeshift blade. He survived and later retracted his claims, admitting he killed Sydney to silence her threat. The jury, shown graphic photos of Sydney's remains, delivered a guilty verdict on all counts. On June 9, 2021, Aubrey was sentenced to death. Bailey's 2020 trial was less theatrical but equally damning. Encrypted messages showed the couple coordinating their stories, with Aubrey insisting Bailey be portrayed as a victim. Prosecutors sought the death penalty, but Bailey tearfully pleaded for life for her 7-year-old daughter's sake. She was sentenced to life without parole. Sydney Loofe's life was a testament to resilience, kindness, and hope. Her tragic end at the hands of Aubrey Trail and Bailey Boswell serves as a stark warning about the dangers of online dating. Behind a charming profile can lurk a predator, and Sydney's story urges us to stay vigilant. Her family and community continue to honor her memory, the green ribbons, a lasting symbol of their love and loss. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to the Crime Decoder for more true crime stories that demand to be told. Stay safe, and join us next time for another deep dive into the cases that shape our understanding of justice.